G'day YouTube, Max right here, and after going from an absolute disaster of a Bitcoin conference, I decided to come to the Bay of Pigs Museum, and I found an even bigger disaster here in the Bay of Pigs Museum. Just a fascinating piece of history. For those of you who don't know, I absolutely adore history, and I love political history and war history. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my whole life was going to Cambodia, and just for 3 hours I just sat and just listened to a guy who experienced it and tell me his story of being marched out into the jungles and separated from his family and the torture and everything, and I just sat there and bawled my eyes out for like 2 hours. Well, I've just had another extremely special experience here at the Bay of Pigs Museum, talking to a veteran of the Bay of Pigs invasion and the betrayal that they had, the 2 years in the POW camp, and I've just had an absolutely amazing morning. So yeah, I just wanted to report back. What else do I want to share with you? Oh yeah, I just learned all about the battle right here. He just sat here and told me all about the battle right here and how they landed here. Paratroopers were supposed to land up here, bomb some bridges that would stop the main portion of troops coming down, but that failed. The whole failure of Kennedy boarding several portions of the air support they were supposed to receive, and so the team really was just landed there without any kind of air support, and it was doomed to failure from the very beginning. And so, you know, it's just, that's been very interesting. That the consensus here among the veterans is that it was a mission that was kind of doomed to fail. They were supposed to go in, fail miserably, get slaughtered, and then America would have an excuse to come back in and save the day, even though they were trained by the CIA, funded by the CIA, and kind of helped by the CIA. But what actually happened was, I guess Castro kind of outmaneuvered him, outsmarted him, did something that they weren't expecting him to do. Despite the fact he was a completely murderous sociopath, he did not murder them, and he actually just kept them prisoners, treated them extremely poorly, but used enough propaganda to come out looking like the big guy. With the support of the New York Times, Castro kind of had himself looking like a champion, and socialism became a little bit of a romantic darling of the world. At a very, very key time. It was a very, very important part of history. And I've had the pleasure, I'm going to show it right now, this gentleman right here. Hope you can see that, guys. Humberto Diaz Arguelles. I'm pronouncing that all wrong, probably. That is this gentleman right here, who I have had the pleasure of chatting to for the last few hours, hearing about all of this. And up here on the wall, we see the flag of the brigade, the 2506. That was the name of the brigade that the CIA trained, put together. All in all, about 1,400 troops. So these were Cuban exiles. They escaped Cuba when Castro came to power, but they desperately wanted to go back. They desperately wanted to just get rid of communism and you know, live in their wonderful Cuba. And the amount of promise that Cuba had is just incredible. When you hear in Miami, you just see how big it is and beautiful it is, and you know, Cuba could have been Miami. All of the tourism that happens in the Caribbean, all of that should have been Cuba. It's closer, it's easier to get to, just as beautiful. It all should have been there, but communism took over, absolutely destroyed that country. And these guys just wanted to get back, free their people, and get back to Cuba. And so they volunteered. It was a voluntary brigade entirely. 1,400 people volunteered, went and got trained by the CIA in all different warcraft. And they were supposed to take the land, be there for about 3 or 4 days. This is what they were told. Just take a small portion of land, say that, hey, we are an alternative government, we've come to defeat Castro, and we're seeking help from the world. And the American Armada was supposed to be just over the horizon to come in and help them once they've, you know, like once it was led by locals, then the American government could come in and say that they were justified. But for whatever reason, the air support that was promised them never came, and they were like being lambs to the slaughter. And so they got taken captive, as I mentioned. And after the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was enough social pressure and leverage. They were largely forgotten. Castro didn't want to have anything to do with them, but he didn't want to kill them because he didn't want to look bad, didn't want to give the rest of the world justification for invade, so he just kind of put them in horrific conditions in a POW camp. It was a humiliation for Kennedy. He kind of wanted to ignore them and forget about it, and they were just lost in time. After the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was enough social pressure that they ended up getting traded out, and so they spent 2 years in captivity. And then these walls here beside me, these are all the veterans, and all of the veterans of the Bay of Pigs who have actually died. Now, not many of them died in the Bay of Pigs. As I said, about 1,400 landed. only about 100, a little over 100 died, and well over 1,000 of them were taken captive. And it's just a really, really brilliant part of history. And I've had a very, very, very special morning, actually, a very, very special morning here, speaking to a veteran, and it's been a great thing. So if you ever come here, please come and check out the Bay of Pigs Museum if you're ever in Miami. It's awesome. Okay, guys, take care.